What's up, everybody? This is Grant, that Cause Artist. Welcome to another episode of the Disruptors for Good podcast. Today we have a truly incredible story, and all the people that I talk to are incredible and have these amazing journeys, but sometimes some just really stand out more than others, and just because of the path and the journey, it's just unlike a lot of people. It's just unlike a lot of people's journey. So today we're going to talk to Trinity Heavenz, who is the founder and CEO of era92, which is a tech company in Uganda, right outside the slums of Kampala, which is where Trinity grew up and a lot of his journey comes from. It's from the slums of Uganda and living in extreme poverty and almost dying from starvation before he was even a teenager. And he goes into detail with a lot of this stuff, and it's really touching, and it's obviously devastating on so many different fronts. But he talks about how he got out of the streets and got out of a bad lifestyle and found a computer and discovered all these amazing things he can do on a computer, and how technology sort of changed his life. And he was fortunate enough to get an internship at Coca-Cola for a year, and that really gave him even more talent and skills that he never thought were possible. And he wanted to really bring that back to the people still living in the slums in Uganda, and where he grew up, where he was from. And he wanted to really give back in a way where it wasn't charity, it was skills, right? I mean, he just had skills. Now he's like, I need to use this to give back in some way. So he started a company, and he started training a friend that was in some really desperate times on how to build websites and how to build and just spark talent and skills within her that she never even thought she had, which happens to a lot of us when we find something that we're sort of passionate about. So from that point on, he really tried to go out and just scrap and get clients, because he wanted to teach the people in the more people in the slums of Uganda how to build websites, learn web development, learn web design, learn graphic design, graphic development, all these different skills that can be incorporated for businesses around the world, right? And, we talk a little bit about how when we think about tech hubs around the world, we don't think about Africa. We think about India, we're thinking about Asia, Europe, South America now is sort of an upstart too, but we never think about Africa as a hub of tech talent. It's we really go into maybe why that is, and why he's trying to change that. And him and his team have really just built out an incredible system where they train and develop skilled technology workers in Uganda, and help them get jobs, and for lack of a better term, change their lives, uplift them out of extreme poverty, just by offering them a job based on what skills they have had and what they learned and what they earned from the era92 training programs and the nonprofit that they started to actually train the individuals to go into the jobs that they want. It's really an all-around incredible story, and Trinity obviously explains it way better than I can. So I will stop talking and let Trinity take over and tell his incredible story. Before I get into that, I just want to thank everybody again for listening and sharing and reviewing. And I appreciate all the kind words everybody reaches out and says. And, that's what keeps me motivated. So by all means, keep doing that. Review if you can. Of course, Grant at causeartist.com if you want to reach out. I have some exciting news coming out soon about a new platform I've been working on for a really long time that will help with, getting everybody's news out there, like, easily and more efficiently, where I can't get to everybody's requests, but what I'm building out, I think will handle that a little bit better, and it'll hopefully make cause arts more sustainable. Because that's what we need, sustainability in business, right, to keep going. So, hopefully the platform will resonate, and I'll be talking a lot more about that coming up soon. The other platform we have that's live now is impactrecipe.com. Where we do web hosting, maintenance, and updates for nonprofits and social enterprises, social ventures. So check that out when you can. And we'll get into Trinity's interview now. Hope everybody's having a great week, and have a great day. Thanks. Bye. So how I like to usually start these is to talk about a person's journey,
Mm.
their process of sort of becoming, CEO or founder or whatever sort of position or path that the person is their life. So let's kind of start early on and just talk early on about your life and everything like that and how you fell in love with technology.
Yeah, my journey was, I always tell this story because I think it's important to, my story as a person. Some people don't want to, go to that beat, but my mom was raped when she was 16 years old. And when she was raped, their parents, the father and the parents, her father told her, you know what, I can't raise a child that I don't know the father of. So because my mom was raped, she couldn't find my dad. And so it was clear that my mom had to go onto the streets early on when she was 16, and then she had to find a new life. So my mom moved from the village where she was, and she came to the capital city of Kampala,
Hmm.
Uganda. Yeah, our capital city is called Kampala. So she came to the capital city, but these urban settlements, when you come from the village, you have to go to the slums because it's very expensive to get any good place because you don't have any money. So my mom ended up in the one of the worst slums in Kampala called Kosovo, and it was named after a country in
Yeah.
called Kosovo, Russia, where there is too many fighting because there's so many killings in Kosovo. So my mom put herself in this danger just to find a path for me to be raised. But early on, my mom wanted to change the background, to change my future, and the biggest thing she wanted to do was to actually get me good quality education.
Hmm.
So she was poor, she worked hard, all different kind of jobs, washing for people, selling food, groceries. And then one day she raised money for at least 2 years to get me, in school for the first time. And unlucky enough, she didn't know that she had this, radio ad on radio about a school that was relevantly cheap. The school was $10 per term, per semester. And she got so excited and she invited all the people that were struggling to put their kids in school. So when my mom got excited, other people came and they picked, 7 boys of us, and then we joined the school. So unknowingly, this was a school of neglected, abused street children. But the people who are running the school wanted to make more money, so they called other students who were normal kids to come and be part of the school. And so my first day of school, everything down to the shoes on my feet was stolen. The dormitories had no doors. We never entered class, in that school, not even once. And that was the journey, of my life, to become a street child, even though I wasn't born one. So in this school, I had to learn to survive on my own. I was just 9 years old.
Oh.
And they told our parents, you know what? You're not going to see your parents until December. So you drop them in February when the term starts, and then you pick them in December 2nd. And so my mom didn't know whatever thing that was happening with me. She didn't know that I was struggling. She didn't know I was not even sleeping in a normal house. I was in the bush. And so, unlucky enough, because we had to fetch firewood to get food, we had to do, fetch water to get a meal a day at school. And I was a little boy, and my friends couldn't handle it. And the sad story that, the other boys that couldn't handle it died. So we lost 3 boys in that year that I was coming, that I came, with from the slums. So December came and they had to pick us. And so my mom couldn't recognize me. She just, broke into tears. I was malnourished. But the most hurting thing was that the parents who were expecting their kids, they couldn't see them. They told them the boys died. Some were drowned in water and some were beaten to death.
Their parents came to come get them and they just weren't there. Is that how they found
Mm.
out?
That's how they found out because it's a street. Though everyone who is in that school was picked from the streets, unless the few kids who are normal kids like us. So we left that community. I left that school, and then my mom couldn't bring me back, and then I stayed home. She brought me back to the slums, to Kosovo. But at this stage, 1 year, being with street children, I was a street child, so I couldn't fit in at home with her. So the first day she brought me home, the second day I ran away and I joined the streets. So I joined the streets in Kosovo, because there are so many gangs in Kosovo. So I joined one of the gangs with my brother, with my friend, like I call him brother because I grew up with him. So once we joined the streets, we wanted someone to lead us because I was still young. I was I was 10 years now, and so we joined a gang called B13, and we started doing the same thing that we're doing in the village. And so we did that for 1 year, 2 years, and then at the age of 13, something bad still happened again. This guy who was leading our gang member, our gang, took us to steal on New Year's Eve, because on that day, so many people are out in the streets, and you could, steal lots of phones and different things. This guy took us to steal at a certain shop, and once he took us to steal, he so many things that he could run away with, but people had recognized us in the community, and they knew that we are thieves. And so this boy our leader took a lot of things, and in the meantime, people recognized, oh, these are the boys that steal this place. We need to go over them. So they chased us, and boom, this guy was caught, and he was beaten to death. And he was beaten, stones to his head, and his brain spilled out. And he cried out for help when we were young, but he cried out for help and we couldn't help him. But we just dropped everything and we ran away. And to me, this was like the turning point, because on the streets, the gang member is like your goal, is the person that you see that is gonna save your life. At this time, he was dead. And so we went hiding because one of the ladies there told us, you boys, you were the next. This was the first one. Now you guys are next. And then we were so frightened. So we ran away and started hiding under the ditches. So we hid in the ditches for 1 week. And in that ditch, I was getting sick. I was not feeding. And if I took any other week in that ditch, I was gonna die. But luckily enough, there were some missionaries who had come to our community from an organization called Fields of Life. They had come to visit and see the poverty in Kosovo, because many whites were coming into our community. And so the local pastor was walking by, and he recognized us. I know these boys. What are you doing under the ditch? And so they picked us. And when they picked us, it was evident that we were going to die the next day. We hadn't fed in 1 week, and we were sick. We had wounds all over our bodies. And these people took us to the hospital, like a clinic, in the community, and we got first aid. Cutting the long story short, this was like the turning point. We were resurrected, we were given a new life, we were given hope. And then some ladies in this group said, do these boys go to school? I say, no, they've never been to school. Trinity has never been to school. I was called Emma by then. And they decided to sponsor us. And that's the first time we got, a chance to be in a normal class. They gave us porridge, everything. And so the key things in this, story is that when they picked us from the streets, one of the things they gave us food, they gave us everything, not to steal again, but they gave us the tools that we needed to play with, like for me, I was given a computer. So I started playing with the computers when I was, at the age of 13. I started, designing websites. I was on a website called Pennypo. I had an old email. So I got a chance to play with the technology at the tender age. And so I started training myself on how to, when YouTube had come out, on how to design logos, websites, and stuff like that. So I did that for 5-6 years. And at the age of 17, to cut the long story short, I was picked, in a talent search by Coca-Cola. And so I got this chance to go and intern in one of Coca-Cola's agents that was designing, their ad campaigns locally here, because they have their companies that run their ads and stuff like that. So I got this chance. And one thing that happened to me is that in 1 year of interning at Coca-Cola, completely changed my life, not by me getting food or anything, but getting the opportunity to be in the right place with the right full opportunity. Right. So just 1 year was enough for me to change everything. I could send food at my mom's place. I could, pay my rent at the age of 17, and I was still at school. And so this really opened my mind, and I was like, wow, this is great. I wasn't living in the slums anymore, because they had gotten me an apartment. And so this was a very big eye-opening for me. And it was a very hard thing to believe that someone like me, Emma, could turn into a young person, a young designer at Coca-Cola. I realized that, you know what? There's so many young people like me
Yeah.
who have the same skill set, who have the same talent, who have the same drive, but they don't have the opportunity. And I was like, how can I go back and help these people? I was so young and I couldn't do anything. But then I gave it 1 year. The second year, I quit my internship and I went back to the slums. But I just went with nothing. I said, let me just go back with these people. Let me learn their dreams. Let me learn how they want to, turn their lives. And when I
Yeah.
started listening to all the young people in my community, they had this dream of building things, of doing things for their own, but then they didn't have the opportunities. So I got this, heart to actually start reverse engineering the poverty that we've had in our community.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest things that we wanted to do is to reverse engineer the poverty that we've gone up, because all of us, there's a vicious cycle. Young people are born in poverty. They give birth at 16 years of age. They become single mothers at the age of
Right.
19. By
Right.
the age of 25, they have 6 kids, and there are these women that you are say, oh, empower women. So I realize the problem they end up like this is because they don't get the opportunities in the rightful time, in their prime time when they are still young. I was lucky to get that opportunity. So in that time, I didn't know what I was doing, but I had faith.
Right. You just wanted to do
Yeah.
something, try to figure something out.
Yes, I had to figure it out. I had faith in God. And I had faith in what I could do, but I didn't know how to do it. That's another point that I would put out later in our podcast. So God made up something, a girl that was going through a very, very hard moment. And I knew her. She was called Megan, and I'm still working with her today. Megan was Megan's father had broken his backbone while building. He was a builder. He's a builder. And he fell off the building and he broke his backbone. And this was a person that was feeding and taking care of 6 kids.
Wow.
And so when he got this problem, all the responsibilities came down to Megan. I say, you know what? Megan now take care of the family. Megan couldn't do anything. I know what her friends told her. Tell her, you know what, Megan, you need to go and sell your body so
Mm.
that you can take care of your family or your siblings. And Megan came to me to seek advice. You know what, Trinity? This is what my friends are telling me. And I told you, you know what, Megan, don't do any of this. But I want to try out something with you. I want to start training young people in design, arts, and technology. But I want to start with you. I'm going to pay you from my savings. So I did. I said, you know what? Don't go and sell your body. So Megan started with me. I started in my room and other 2 boys and 1 girl, and we started training. And then it was so surprising that after 3 months in, this girl was smarter than me when I was learning these things. She was so smart and she got everything. And by the end of the 4 months that I was training them, this girl was able to build a website on her own in WordPress and Joomla. I
Yeah.
was like, you gotta be kidding me. It took me like many years to figure this out. But then something sparked in my brain that, you know what? I lacked a mentor when I was still young.
Right.
I lacked someone. I had the eagerness to learn, but I had no opportunity and someone to take me through the journey. Megan got me, and that's why she was able to learn this thing. So I was like, Megan, I'm gonna give you a job. Let's start. Let me go and look for websites. Let me go and look for graphics work, and I come with work. And I started with Megan, but then I said, you know what? We are going to empower young people. We are going to work with many young people so that we can solve this problem of youth unemployment that leads to this vicious cycle of poverty in our community. So we started. Megan trained other people. She became a trainer, and she designed websites. So we did start, and as I talk right now, we have 17 young people that are working with us. And most of them, all of them, are coming from the poverty that you cannot imagine. But
Right.
we realize that talent is equally distributed, but the opportunity is not, and that's why
Right.
we are trying to bring as many opportunities as we can to the slums and these people that need them.
Wow, man, that's an incredible story. I want to go back to when you first got your computer,
Yeah.
and uh, what what was sort of that like? Like, what were some of the first things that did you learn on your own? Did they have like a curriculum that they taught you? Like, what were those some of the things early on that you remember that you just like kind of fell in love with when you first got it?
Number one, word art. Um, word art, clip art, and movie maker.
Okay.
Those three things I spent my time, like I still have videos on YouTube right now of me just editing out things in movie maker, and those things really made, just making word art and those things move out. Those things really made my that time when I just got in my hands on a computer, and then it sparked this vicious curiosity in me
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
learn and do things. And I was lucky that my the leader, the pastor of the church, trusted me. You know what? Start designing for us newsletters. Start
Right.
designing things
Right.
for. Start doing PowerPoint in church, and I did that. And those three things really, I still have memories of them, and I still have things that I did with in those programs.
So when you trained Megan, like early on,
Mhm.
the company wasn't necessarily formed yet, right? Like
Yeah.
at what point did you decide like, okay, this is what I want to do, right? I want to create a company and like basically train people, individuals, in these slums
Mm.
and like give them
Mm.
opportunity through my company. Were you like, how old were you when you decided to make that sort of real decision to do that?
I decided to do this when I was 19, but this is a good point because it really took me years to figure out even how to have processes in a company. So when I started out, because I told you I didn't know the clear path for me,
Right.
so I started an NGO as any other person. I still have that NGO that is run by young people. It's called 92hands.org.
Yep.
But I started that with that, but that's not what I wanted to put or spend my lifetime on, because I never liked what other organizations were doing. Other organizations were creating further cycles of dependence. To
Mm,
reflect on what I got a chance to go and intern with Coca-Cola, which helped me improve my skills. And these skills helped me to be able to earn and get a good job. So I realized for me, one thing I wanted to give people the opportunity to work themselves out of poverty by giving them the opportunity and also tapping into their full-time potential, their inner potential. And so once you tap into someone's potential, that's what they did to me in when I was still 13 years. They tapped into my potential. They didn't say, okay, this boy is a poor kid, let's train him how to sew or how to do things. But they tapped into what ignited my passions. And so I wanted to do that for many young people. So that took me a lot of years and to figure out even what social entrepreneur mean. I didn't know that. But I wanted to do something that to run a business that it also does good. So I still have the templates for our websites that we started with. Like one of our taglines was a business that does good, a business that empowers people. So I
yeah.
had to figure out over time what our communications would be like, what will be our model. And so my brother, it's been a long journey, I can say.
It's when you had those like first, Megan seemed to be like the first person that you really kind of like
Yeah.
trained, so to speak, right? But then like after that,
Mm.
how did you like pick or choose people, right? Did people after Megan, like people came to you and were like, "Can you do this for me too?" Right? Like, or did you
Yeah.
meet people that you felt had potential and went and talked to them and were, asked them if they
Mm.
wanted to be a part of this and like did you have like a client yet? Like how were you actually making money, right? Were you doing stuff
Yeah.
freelance at that point?
Yeah, so yeah, that's a good question. When I went to Coca-Cola, I got so much exposed, and people liked my story and where I was coming from. So I came out with a lot of people that wanted to do work with me, and but for me, I wanted to put my mission first. That's why I first quit my job and figure out how can I help the people that I want to help. But the significant change that happened in Megani's life in 6 months after me working with her and paying her was so dramatic that even the church was like, you guys need to go and learn from Trinity. Even in the community, we started having people right now, have so many young people who are designers in Uganda that were just calling me or coming to me to learn from me. So one of the things that I need to point out here is that the brilliance, the eagerness, the curiosity that is in the slums or in these vulnerable communities is unimaginable. We just look over it because we think these people are vulnerable, they are poor. But inside them, they have a burning desire to change their lives. And so I wanted to tap into that. And my first example was Megan, because Megan was able to feed her family. She told me, you know what, Trinity, the most important thing about this job is I'm able to take my food for my siblings and my father who is on the bed. And so that changed my life. And so everything, like the business processes and stuff like that, I say, you know what, God will help us and get grants. And because of referral, people have been coming to us, and our business has been built on referral, nothing else, and also learning from my mistakes.
Yeah, when you sort of do good by people, right? Just as
Yeah,
in a business, right? When you just treat clients well and do a good job, like they will be your salespeople forever. You know,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
I mean, they're gonna
yeah,
refer you. I mean, that's how you create a sustainable business is through those referrals because
yeah,
you know this is your livelihood, right? Your people are depending on
yeah.
you. You're committed to
And
doing
they,
a great job for
yeah,
people, right? That's how it should be.
yeah. That's how it should be. And as actually the most important line in this thing that I've learned about social entrepreneurship, that the client is also as important as our mission, because without business, there's no impact. For me, I was so much like in the early years, I was so much benched into, oh, let's help people, let's help people. And I wasn't marketing, I wasn't looking for new clients. And that we reached a point whereby like our mission was being constrained because we couldn't, fund it any further. So that's a very important thing, brother.
So let's talk a little bit about the impact that has been made, right? Like
Mm,
whether it's lives that has been changed, like what is Kosovo like now? Is it the same? Is it like when people come and work for you, do they
mm,
get out of the slums? Like is your office there? Is your office somewhere else? And literally people come work and they like, leave the slums to come work, with
mm.
you. Like what's sort of the impact been throughout the years so far?
Yeah. For me, actually, we've done a lot of great impact in the lives of young people, but the outstanding one is always Megan. So but after Megan, because that's the first one, but after Megan, there's been other 500 young people that have been through our program called Elevate
Wow.
program,
Wow.
and
And is that all
500 young.
all students from Kosovo?
Yes, all students from Kosovo. And the good thing that we can track these people, we know where they are.
Mm,
And I know most of them by name, and I know what they're doing right now and how their life, because they keep coming to us, to give testimonies, about their work. But um, we have created an environment close to the slums because we don't want them to move too long. But
right.
then our company, the offices, the center where we train them or where we work, it's totally well furnished. We set out to do something that when they enter into this thing, they're into a new world,
Right.
so that it can make their mindset change. Because dealing with poverty, you're mostly dealing with a mindset shift, and
Mhm.
so we benchmark into working with their minds, exposing them to mentors. One of the key things that we use is peer-to-peer learning, but also mentorships. We bring in a lot of people who have made it, because once you see someone who is doing what you want to do, it's like a flame or light at the end of the tunnel. You exactly see that this is who I want to be. And if someone tells you, you know what, if you want to be here, you gotta put in work. You gotta uh, be devoted. You have to keep time. And so their mindsets start to shift. They get over drugs, they get over prostitution, they get over this poor mentality, and so their lives change.
What's the program process like when somebody comes in? They apply sort of online or they come into the office and apply? And then what's sort of actual the program like? Is it sort of like 3 months of web development training? Is there certain like technologies
Mm,
that are foundational to what they need to learn like right
mm,
out the gate? Because I mean, is it individuals or students that are coming in and like have never even touched a computer before, right? I mean, a
yeah.
lot of people have phones now,
Mm,
right? So it's kind of
mm.
understand technology a little bit from a mobile standpoint, at least.
Yeah. So, as I told you, we have the other organization which is called 981, which does more of the community work. So it's entrenched into the community. It basically works with the women and the children. but there's a section where they also mobilize young people. So once they come, we all don't put them into one thing, but we also have a funnel to filtrate who is best fitted into what we are offering. And then those who aren't, we recommend them to the organizations that are working with more likely in the things that they want to do, like hair plating and stuff like that, which 981 does. So if a typical young person comes to Elevate or Era 92 after being discovered, what they get is they get through a discovery thing, or to understand what their dreams are, what their passions are, what have they been at, and then we give them 3 weeks just to be in that environment. Every day they come, they talk to our mentors, we expose them to different things they want to touch, and then after that we ask them a few questions of how they want, what do they want. And we have 5 programs. We have Tomorrow Alive, which is a program that is works with young people through career development, etiquettes, and all these kind of things. We have graphic designing and web development. This is where they learn about graphics, in design, those programs. We have a software development one where they learn basic coding, and once they get good at it and they discover their passion in that, they are taken it onto another level. We have those ones who have never touched a computer. They have their session to go throughout, to learn how to play with these computers and stuff like that. And then you have the 2Ds, which is a 2-day startup to discover entrepreneurs. And then they go through our startup incubator where, they're starting small businesses. So those are the 4 programs, but basically both of them take 6 months with us and then 6 months apprenticeship. So a typical young person, when they come to us and they learn web design, or they learn graphics, or they learn photography or filmmaking, we definitely, after 6 months, place them into an organization where they can do those things hands-on. And once they do those things hands-on, we've heard that 70% of these young people are retained, because what we train them is character. That you go in this organization and discover a loophole and fix that problem. Once you fix that problem, they're not going to get rid of you, because they will be leaving a gap into their organization. And so these young people go and create content for this organization, basically non-profits. We have 6 of them that are working with us, and then we have big media houses that take our young people. And that has been the journey. And then I always pick 3 of them that are the best, and then we retain them at era 92. So that's why we have the number 17.
Wow, I mean, dude, it's really incredible, bro. What you have built, man, and like it just looks at everything from a different angle, from like how technology and just the ability to have opportunity to change your life, right? To spark that inspiration, right? I mean, a lot of what you're talking about, that's like very similar, like what happened to me, as far as like the mindset of like and getting introduced to like a computer, right? And getting introduced to like what's possible. Because
Mm-hmm.
once you have
Mm-hmm.
that like laptop, that piece of equipment, then it's endless,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you
Yeah.
can literally the hardest thing to do is just figuring out what you want to do, because there's literally
Mm-hmm.
anything you can do, right?
Yeah.
You could get trained
Yeah.
on anything you want, right? You can learn
Mm-hmm.
anything that you
Mm-hmm.
want. So it's really taking that time to just even figure out like, wow, I'm passionate about this. I like this, but it's not my passion, but I like it. I'm gonna move on to something else. Let me try this. And that's been my journey, is just like constantly learning and constantly figure out what I like and what I love, and
Mm-hmm.
then just choosing it and going to learn it. Right. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the greatest tool created, because there's almost no excuses, right? Like if you
Uh,
have this and you have internet, like you can learn anything you
anything.
want, right?
Anything you want. Yeah, like for me, I'm telling you, one of the things that I'm passionate about, is Africa. And we have, another department that is called the New Africa in our organization. And basically, it's that as Africa, as Uganda, we've been so much sold to the idea of us being helped, which is on both sides. Like, for example, many young people in the slums, for them, they don't dream of working, they don't dream of unlocking this potential, they dream of getting a white person, to change their lives. And I say, you know what? We have everything right now into our pockets, in our hands, to change our lives, to change our economies, to change our countries. And that's what I advocate for in our lives, in these young people. Say, you know what? This is our time. This is our time to change everything.
Been the response been locally? Do you work with local universities? Do you work with like local government? Because I mean, what you're doing is like you're solving problems that governments have been unable to solve, right? Where
Yeah.
universities have failed to solve this issue, right? Like locally, like what has the response been from local,
Yeah.
leadership or people in power there? Have they been like helpful at all? Have they come to you to do partnerships or anything like that?
Yeah, it's hard to change the paradigm and to change the status quo in this kind of area because it's a money-making machine for governments here. One of the things that I disagree with because for me, just to punch in my story, I was able to pay for my university, and I wanted to get a degree for my parents because that's how I was brought up. So I went to the university to pay and started paying. And the first year I was like, okay, I was studying, Bachelor of Fine Art and Industrial Design. I was doing it. I went there with passion. The first year I was into theory, the Renaissance of art, the Gothic art. I wasn't doing anything. I just wanted to learn about communications, photography, and those things. The second year, I'm into the same thing, and I quit in the second year. Because one of the things I was advocating for was like, oh man, these things are able to be taught to a young person in 1 year because the flow of information has changed. There's so much information in the air on this browser than ever before. So the amount of time we spend in classroom has to change because we have these things with us. The reason why we spend more time because they had to copy things for us on the blackboard so that we can copy on the blackboard onto our books. That's why we had to spend so much time in the classroom. We've sat, been on television about this issue, but it's very hard to change. But we've been able to win the organizations that I want to implement our programs. And so recently, the organization that picked me from the slums, Fields of Life, they're building the first technical institution, and I was on a tour to fundraise for them for this.
Wow.
Um, yeah,
Is it
first,
called is it called feeds?
modern
Like how do you
fields
spell
of life, fields of
it?
life, fields
Yeah.
of life, like fields like fields of life,
Yep.
like FIELDS,
Yeah.
and they're building it in Gulu, where the place that I was affected by war. But you know what? This is an organization that has been there for 25 years, and once they had this thing from us, they say, well, like this is the new Africa. This is what we are supposed to be doing, not giving people water filters, not giving people these kind of things. So you're right. The education system has to change because we are in the 21st century and
Yeah.
we are not ready.
Has internet been an issue? I'm sure obviously since the first stage you got the computer to now, it's
Yeah,
gotten better, of course. But like is there still even because the opportunity almost relies on that too, right? The infrastructure
yeah,
of the bandwidth that you're able to build a tech company there, like a tech hub, so to speak.
mm,
And you need to be obviously able to have the bandwidth to do all this stuff. Has that been improving over time, or is that still an issue at all?
yeah. It has improved. Like international companies like Vodafone, and some from South Africa have been investing in this infrastructure for many years. Like wherever I go right now in Uganda, I can have at least 4G. It's not like the 4G in your countries, but you can build a company on it. And then those who want fiber, it's also available. And so you can get fast speeds, you can get anything, and it has improved dramatically because in 2005, I was getting over how many, like, it was too slow. I could do nothing on the computer.
Yeah,
But
I
right now,
could actually. Yeah, shoot, yeah, that was. I imagine. Shoot, that
yeah,
was slow. It was slow here then too. So we were in the
yeah,
same boat.
yeah,
What's
yeah,
did you think about doing some type of certificate program? Because, like you said, I think that universities are lacking in their curriculum, right? And they're
yeah,
sort of they're stuck in this,
mm,
4-year type deal or 2-year type
mm,
deal. Like to
mm,
me, it's like you can take these boot camp courses and classes, and you can learn everything you learn in 4 years in
mm,
12 months, right? 16 months. Like
yeah,
if you really know how
mm,
to do the curriculum, you know what you need to learn. And have y'all maybe create like you've already kind of created the coursework, right?
mm.
But, like, is there is there some type of degree or certificate that you can create, like as a company or organization, where it's like, this is a stamp of approval, where obviously many
mm,
people, not just in your country, but in my country as well, can't afford to
mm,
go to college. It's just
mm,
it's not attainable for most people, you know?
mm.
But now, to me, there's such a shortcut, right? Like a cheaper and
Yeah.
more effective way to be educated, but
Mm,
there's still something to say when you completed something, right? I do believe like that to say you have
mm.
completed something is important. So whether it's a degree or
Yeah.
certificate, is there a course that you could like create, right? And kind of like say, hey, we are a university now. Come to us and we will actually like train you for the stuff people want to hire for.
Yeah, yeah. We had this opportunity, to talk to the chancellor of the university that I went to, because they see our work. We've been featured on TV here, and the other brother of mine I told you about is one of the biggest artists in Uganda. So we have the exposure, but as I told you, it's very hard to change the status quo. So we went to one of the institutes that is big into what we are doing. They're still locked up in the other traditional things, and we told them, you know what? I think we can revolutionize this learning to have a 1 year program whereby someone comes up after 20, 12 months when they're already learners for life and they're going to be able to change their life. And so they offered to give us to offer certificates that is in their names, but they are not willing to take on whatever we are doing, because they want to have these kids for 3 years so they can make that enough money from them. So as I told you, it's about the money rather than changing the system. So as I told you right now, first we are going to replicate these programs with this institution that is starting up by Fields of Life, and then another organization that is called Impact Nations that are doing this kind of thing, because it seems that the government, it's gonna be hard to to partner with them, but they like what we are doing, but they cannot adopt it and put it into their system because it's a money making machine.
So I think we should call it the Change Your Life degree program. Because that's
Yeah.
what it will do. That's what it will do. And
But you
it's
know what? Do you know what I would do, brother? Is that it goes down to funding, because to be honest with you, do you know the numbers that we receive? Because we started receiving, I can show you like the applications on our website. We received 500 students this year, 2020, because we went on TV and everyone wanted to be part of this program. But
right.
then we don't have enough space for that, and then we
Sure.
also don't have. Don't have enough infrastructure like to accommodate all these kind of people, and so that's the challenge. But having the vision and doing what you're doing, we invented a seed, but we just have to find ways of planting it a million times.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, it's it's one of those kind of good problems to have, is that
Mm.
you have too many people wanting to make their lives better, right? Like
Yeah.
that's a good problem. That's a good problem to have, right? It's just now
Yeah,
figuring out how we can
how we can, yeah.
how we can like actually, like you said, build the infrastructure up and have the ability to train all these people, train everybody correctly,
Yeah.
right? Like make sure every
Yeah.
body has the correct training, the correct one-on-one like capabilities. Because that,
Mm.
I mean, the problem with really every school system is that like you, not everybody learns the same, right? It's
Yeah.
just like you want to be able to yeah, teach a bunch of people, but also teach them the right way, because this person might learn differently than this person, so you might have to tweak how you're teaching things a
that's
little differently.
that's one thing that I've learned in our programs, that we've been able to see students that are slow. Like there's a girl that I work with right now. She's called Brenda. Brenda was a slow learner. She was one of the worst students in her classroom. But I saw something in her that over time she can do it. And right now she's one of the best employees that we have. But it's about understanding that we are all not equal. We are like fingers. And so we need to how do we tap into this someone's potential, however much they don't have the capability to get information like the other person. So individualizing the system and also tailoring them to the needs of the people has really made it successful.
How I usually like to end things or wrap stuff up is to ask about like the future a little bit. I know it's especially in this time we're all in now, the future is much more just it's hard to kind of understand what it's going to be like a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But what does it look like from you, from now, what do you envision now, right? I mean, you've done this now for like years, right? Like almost a decade or over a decade? Like how long at this point?
Yeah, I started in registering everything that was 2013, and then I registered in 2014. So, 5 years,
Yeah,
6 years.
yeah, yeah, great. And then, but so for the next sort of, 5 years, 10 years, like, what's driving you right now? Like, what are you
Mm.
passionate about right now that's gonna, keep you motivated so you can keep impacting lives, for decades to come.
Yeah, the new Africa,
Yeah.
and I'm passionate about driving this message across beyond the people that I'm helping. Era92, I hope is gonna be a successful, youth creative agency in its own thing, and after that, everyone, my creative team, and also the board members, we realize that the Elevate program is eventually gonna become an institute, and also after that we have to replicate it, we have to scale, we are thinking about scalability in the next 5 years, at least to 12 districts, because we have over 50 districts in Uganda, but we are looking at these major ones that are becoming cities, so that we can also tap into that potential. But beyond this, my drive is to see that the untapped potential across Africa is tapped, because one right now we have one of the fastest growing, population. We have the youngest population, and I've been reading statistics, and it shows that at least by 2050 we are gonna have a biggest workforce than China,
Wow.
and at least 1 billion young people will need jobs by then. And so, what does this mean? We are like sitting on a tick timing bomb, because so many uh, uh, company or government institutions are not creating enough jobs for us. And so, the biggest challenge we have moving forward is how do we solve the problem of youth unemployment?
Hmm.
And first of all, it has to go back to the education. We have to get the education going. But this education only has to be as good as we pivot it towards skills development, vocational skills, technological skills, and all these innovative ways of learning for young people, because they are open to this. Their minds are so curious to capture these things. And so once you bring these young people as partners in this, like, wheel of change that we are trying to create across Africa, because the problems we have in this community or in Kosovo are the same in Abuja, are the same in Abuja in Nigeria, are the same in Kibera in Kenya, where I was last month. So I realized that the problems we're having are the same, but how do we get the models that are working to be replicated across the vulnerable communities that we are trying to serve? So my drive is to have the message, cut across as I'm building my agents, and also building our organization, 92 Hands. But basically, that's my drive right now, at least for the next 20 years. And so we have that thing. The dream is called the New Africa Dome, and this is a place where we are going to have innovators, athletes, musicians. It's going to be a dome whereby we are going to be creating world class talent from Africa. And so that's my vision for 20 years. But for the one for 5 years is basically replicating the programs that you're having at Elevate, Era 92 and 91 to the communities that need them. So that's
Who
it, brother. I would say this. I would say this, my brother. You don't know what you did. So I'm gonna just cut this just for you. You might cut it out, but this is it. Once you did the 37 social entrepreneurs to watch out in 2020, this is what happened. Many people called me. Many people want to know or learn about what you're doing. And why am I saying this? Is that because the message that I want to cut across or take to the world is a partnership between the West
Yeah.
and Africa. That's the link that I'm trying to create. And for me to do this, or for us to do this, we have to partner with the people who are willing, to give, to bring Africa to the same table rather than just looking down to providing aid. So, as I said, Feeds of Life, as the other organization, once we talk to them, they are, like one of the, stakeholders. And I'm looking for other individuals who are in the United States last year. Last year. And we're just groundbreaking on how we can bring on this message across, that if people are coming to Africa. They should think about bringing jobs. They should think about bringing their businesses. They
Right.
should think about partnerships. They should think about bringing their skills. And so those are the companies. Cause artists, what you guys did was incredible. Feeds of life, and as we are building, there are some friends of mine, in the UK that are also having the same heart. One of them recently become a partner. Is called Tony Macaulay. And he's trying to push the message to the message. And bro, it's happening. I think it's time for Africa to tap into this untapped potential, but we can't do it alone.
I think it's not looked at as like a tech hub, right? But like
Yeah.
you guys are in like geographically like an amazing area of the world, right? You're close
Mm,
to
mm,
Europe, you're closer to
yeah.
China, India is
Mm,
is it's huge, right? So that's like
yeah.
you're actually centrally located, right? It's like the perfect
Yeah.
location globally for
Yeah. Yeah.
companies to have, whether it's like
Mm,
offices, right, or have teams there. And
mm,
as jobs
mm,
grow, you know,
mm,
innovation happens in Africa. The things that
mm,
are happening in China through innovation, and even India now. I mean, India has huge potential, and technology is doing a lot of things, and they have a lot of people too, right? I mean, they have tons of people that they have to figure out. But like Amazon,
mm.
their headquarters, like their global headquarters is in India, right? So it's like
Wow.
that stuff like that needs to happen
Yeah.
in Uganda, or
In.
it's Nigeria, wherever it is. There's essentially sort of located hub of talent, which you are creating.
Mm,
That
mm.
then brings companies in and saying, "Well, look, we already have a pool of talent here, right?" That's the
Yep.
most important thing for these companies. Is like once you have that talent built up, which you have done,
Mm.
that's what needs to pop up more and more everywhere around
Yeah.
Africa, so we can the world can understand that. Look, this is becoming
Mm,
a hub of innovative, passionate,
mm,
young
mm,
people who are super talented. Like that's gonna breed so many entrepreneurs out of your area. It's gonna breed so many different companies, and it's gonna.
mm,
I don't know. I feel like something interesting is gonna happen because Africa is
mm.
so. I don't know, man. It's just such a. It's the center of the world, right? It's like why
It
can't we
is.
figure out a way to make this
Mm.
one of the most amazing places in the world where everybody goes for all kind of things,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Well, you got it. You got it. You just, got into, my passion. That's what I see. When I travel, I love those places. But everything I say is like, why can't we do these things home? And it's just touch with a, mindset shift, and also understanding those things can be done here. Not to compete with the other world, but also
Right,
to, it's
right.
about dignity of humanity. It's about dignity of humanity. We have to bring this equality.
I mean, what you're doing is amazing, my brother. Like I'm so inspired right now, man. Like I'm just you humbled me when you said that posted,
Yeah.
it has some positivity in the world, right? Like that's
Mm, mm,
that's one example of like just we all
mm.
have some way to play some type of role, right? Like
Yeah.
if it's
Yeah.
a piece of content that could help out somebody,
Mm,
like that's amazing, right? That's the power that we all have where,
mm,
I can write something at my home, but it could be seen and impacted halfway across the world, right? Like that's what we have to
mm.
understand, what we have the power of just individuals of like just following your passion, right? And like
Yeah.
talking to people that you share that same mentality with. That is
Mm.
that's a great recipe, man, for something cool and something interesting
Yeah.
to happen, and just accelerate
Yeah.
that impact around the world.
No, it was a hit. Yeah, it was a hit. That thing was a hit, and I'm so humbled. It started, my 2020 in a very very rightful moment, and uh, just a piece of content can change your life, brother.
Well, I appreciate everything you're doing, man. I'm gonna I'm staying inspired, and you're motivating me to do even more stuff, man. So I appreciate
Mm.
all you're doing. Best of luck for the rest of this year, obviously, and obviously for years to come. Thank you so much for taking time. I know it's late over there.
Yeah, yeah.
People don't realize the
It's
time zone, but he's
going
up
to
like
going
midnight.
to 1 a.m.
It's almost, yeah, like 1 a.m. there. He's up doing that. So
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
thank you so much, my brother. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Oh, bro, yeah, I really appreciate it too. God bless you, and I just pray that the impact you're creating cuts across the globe. I believe in it, brother.